Oschino has been one to expose the dirty laundry of state property, y'all. First, we heard about him getting cut out of money for reunion shows when Beanie Sigel, Young Guns, Freeway, everybody got back together, and Oskino was mysteriously absent. Now, guys, I've done a lot of interviews with members of state property over the years, and we've all come to find out that that day when they all freestyled together on Hot 97, when Jay-Z brought them all together, at that point, it was the first time that a lot of them had met each other. When Beanie and Freeway and all these guys came together to form one of the most, you know what I mean, notarized hip hop groups of all time, the same group that would then go to the studio when the Cassidy and Freeway battle happened. You know what I'm saying? But that group would end up doing a lot of major things, like one, creating a clothing line, several labels, and having several artists branch off from the group to release solo albums, like Beanie Sigel himself, who released multiple, Freeway, who actually released multiple albums, more independent than industry albums, I want to say, and the Young Guns, who broke out as one of hip hop's, you know what I mean, most commercial hip hop duos. Obviously, you got Outkast out there, but then you got the more hip hop gangsta duos like Mobb Deep and MOP. So Young Guns really found a spot to fit in hip hop. And I really like the Young Guns. Salute to both of them, Chris and Neef. I've interviewed them both. But there was a few artists that were with state property that didn't really get the shine and the recognition of the others. And there was one in particular that actually, after doing a jail sentence, came home and started to rebel, you could say. He started to actually voice some of his issues with what was going on with state property, you know, because Oskino was somebody who had, you know, his hand on the pulse of hip hop. This is a guy who worked with Meek Mill before Meek Mill blew up. You know, I always have liked Oskino's flow, but it's just in more recent years where his flow and his delivery is more understood by the general public. Back in the day, you'd be like, I can't understand what he's saying. He's talking so quickly. But nowadays, people get a little bit more into it with the lyrics, and you see an artist like Young Thug blowing up, even though you can't necessarily understand every single thing he says. And I want to say another thing. Oskino, you know what I mean, has taken over on the internet scene compared to the other members of the group. You know, Beanie Sigel, Freeway, these guys more known for their rap. Oskino has taken a route to where he really is one of the most vocal members of the group. And I'm not just talking about going on Drink Champs or YouTube and exposing secrets that we never knew. I'm talking about forming relationships with people like Vlad. I'm talking about actually going on and forming a YouTube channel that the general public can coherently follow. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't just post things here and there. Oskino has been on it for a number of years when it comes to working his YouTube channel. And one thing Oskino doesn't do is bite his tongue. He doesn't bite his tongue, and that's why we're going to be talking about this episode today. Oskino went off, and he was on a Instagram live, I want to say. Yeah, it must have been Instagram live. Um, some people were asking him questions, and I noticed in the comment section someone had said, "When can we get another Sparks and Oskino exclusive?" You know, they were like the duo of the group as well, right? You had Oskino and Sparks, you had Neef and Buck, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Neef and Chris, excuse me. Those guys were like kind of like the tandems in the group. So people were asking, when can we get another Oskino and Omilio Sparks exclusive? And Oskino replied, I love Sparks, but no. So right there, he just canceled out the whole reuniting with Emilio Sparks. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to happen, it seems, for anybody that would like that to happen. If you follow, you know, the music career of Oskino, you know what I mean? He still releases some joints. But like I said, whether you're a fan of Oskino for the music now or the live media entertainment, you know, Oskino just basically said, I'm not doing a record with Emilio Sparks. And then another person posted, someone posted, then this dude is going live with Freeway. And I'm not really sure who he meant was going live with Freeway, but I seen that they had I went over to Tone Trump's page and I seen he had a little bit of a meet and greet of some sort, maybe at a new Philly cheesesteak restaurant. I'm not sure what it's called, Skinny's Cheesesteaks, maybe. This dude is going live with Freeway, and I thought he was talking about Tone Trump, maybe, because the other day in the media, this whole thing blew up with Oschino and Tone Trump and Santos. You know what I mean? Santos just went extremely viral for just keeping it real and telling the general public where he is at right now with it. And a lot of people just, we love transparency. As a fan, you love transparency when somebody can be real with you and not fake it and not present it like such a facade. You know what I mean? When somebody can be real, that is when you can relate to them, and that's when you really take interest in following them on a consistent basis. So then Santos, who was running around with Tone Trump, it looked like Tone Trump was trying to sign Santos. Santos ends up on Oskino's YouTube channel, and he's telling him about how that whole thing was not what it seemed. Oskino even took some shots at Tone Trump. So I'm like, okay, maybe somebody's talking about Tone Trump in the comments. And Oskino said he repeated the comment. He said he's going live with Freeway. And Oskino just went off. He said, I'll beat Freeway the F up. I'll beat Freeway the F up. And I'm just like, what? What's going on here? I knew that there were issues with Oschino and Beanie Sigel over, Beanie being at the helm of state property. But whoa, Oschino is just calling out Freeway here. Is he calling out Freeway because Freeway is continuing to surround himself with Tone Trump? He says, I'll beat Freeway the F up. Freeway can't fight at all. He's a bitch. So I'm like just shocked that Oschino is actually saying this. You know what I mean? You know, and I'm just like, wow, where is he going with this? He started bringing up religion. He started bringing up the passing of the family members and all that stuff that I really just don't want to talk about. You know, guys, when I come on here, I like to focus on hip hop. And just seeing these two former group members breaking apart like this, I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? Why is this happening? You know? So Oskino went on, you're a bitch. I don't F with you. You know what I mean? You have a diamond in your beard. You trick on these bitches because you're ugly. I'll smack the shit out of you and Tone Trump. So he took a shot at the diamond in the beard that Freeway has. He's also saying he's tricking on bitches. I mean, I don't really see Freeway tricking on girls on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? But I have seen the diamond in the beard. He was the first one to actually do that. And then Oschino took it a step further, saying Freeway's name is Leslie. You know what I mean? He's just taking a few shots. You know what I mean? Freeway's name is Leslie. And then he went on to say, I've been locked up for homicides and murder. This shit I was doing for real in the streets. Getting shot 10 times. You wrote rap and D-sucked for beans. Don't play with me. That's how I be feeling. And mind you, every time I tried to be a bully, I got effed up. But my responses be diabolical. Yeah. Oskino's response is surely diabolical on this one. Does it really just have to do with the fact that Tone Trump and Freeway are standing side by side? Does it have to do with the fact that Tone Trump keeps calling every single collaboration he does the new Rockefeller? Could Oschino be taking disrespect to that? Like, yo, we are the real Rockefeller. Oschino and Freeway are what represented the real Rockefeller at one time. You know what I mean? State property was a major staple of Rockefeller. As I explained, so many artists went solo from that group that it propelled Rockefeller to a level of Def Jam or a level of, you know what I mean? A suitable record label, artists that released multiple projects when G Unit couldn't do that. And Murder Inc. couldn't do that for anyone besides John Ashanti. Jay-Z did that with Rockefeller. You know, so that's kind of where I think this issue stems from. And I think, well, Oschino and Tone Trump have problems from the past as well, I hear. You know what I mean? Anytime I ever interviewed Tone Trump, he never brought that up, though. You know what I'm saying? Oskino did say he would do an interview with me after that whole Leak Moss situation. I respected that out of Oskino as well, because I had interviewed him in the past, and he wasn't like all these other dudes who just fell back just because they thought it was the cool thing to do. Like the dudes who have their girlfriends dragging them up to me for a picture, or the rappers who want to be too cool for school. You know what I mean? Acting like they weren't in my DMs. When can I get that Mikey T interview? Yes, the Mikey T interview was a very popular thing in hip hop. This is one thing I really wasn't sure where Oskino was going. I pretty much, you know what I mean? I'm hearing what he's saying between not wanting to work with Emilio Sparks, between calling Freeway out for the Tone Trump relationship, and also putting out his gangster image compared to Freeway, who allegedly got on for just writing for Beans. I mean, What We Do is a song of a lifetime, but I'm just saying what Oschino put out there. And this is the one part where I'm like, it's a little bit shaky. Oschino said, I'm like a plant. You might see a plant with a pretty rose on it, but it's got like these sharp thorns. And you think, let me talk shit to this flower. But when you touch it, first of all, I never think to myself, let me talk shit to this flower. But when you touch it, you get the thorns stuck to your clothes. All right, Oskino, I see what you were trying to do there with that analogy. I'm not 100% there with you on that analogy, because I guess you would kind of say, like, if we're talking about the rose that grew from concrete, you know, at one point, Jay-Z did say Beanie Sigel could have been what Tupac was if he kept his head on his shoulders. Beanie Sigel was the more presentable pop appeal of an artist. He had Feel It in the Air. You know what I'm saying? They went really hard for the B Cummings album. You know what I mean? So I think that analogy would more fit Beanie Sigel. No disrespect. Oskino, I got a ton of respect for you. You know what I mean? I did give you that props in being the state property member that has really gone on digitally to impact the world. But I just got to keep it real, man. I just got to keep it real. That analogy seems like it was a little bit more for Beanie Sigel than yourself. You know, Oschino ended it with, how is it peace if you tried to cut me out of some bread? You see, this is where it goes a little bit deeper than just maybe the affiliation with Tone Trump. Because he said, how is it peace if you tried to cut me out of some bread when I got you some bread? You're a fraud. That's why Tone Trump can hang with you. That's what he said about that. He said, you're a fraud, and that's why Tone Trump can hang with you. Now, I'm not covering the whole beef with Oschino and Tone Trump. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. You know what I mean? Unless we get like a response from Tone Trump, or, you know what I mean? Or we get an outcry from the general public for me to do that. You know what I mean? But I really wanted to come on here and cover Oschino basically going all diabolical, in his own words, on Freeway, talking about, I was doing real in these streets. I was doing it for real in these streets, getting shot 10 times. 50 got shot 9 times. Oschino got shot 10 times, y'all. That's crazy. You wrote rap and D sucked for Beans. What? What? How are you saying that about Free, man? You know, when I was talking about the careers that all the Rockefeller artists had, you know, obviously Beanie Sigel was the chosen one of that group. You know what I mean? He was like the chosen one of the group, but Freeway also had a dope path. You know, Freeway's first album came out. Arab told me, he's like, it doesn't matter if he lost that battle with Cassidy. That first album was classic. it didn't really slow down the you know what I mean? Nobody was pulling the reins on Freeway after the Cassidy battle. He came out with a classic album, and his second album was supposed to be major. And yeah, I'm going to bring it up because Jay-Z and 50 Cent were supposed to executive produce that album. You know, Jay's got caught up with a couple projects. You know what I mean? I heard he was supposed to do a project with Prodigy, Jay-Z and Prodigy, Sam Scarfo, one of my first interviews. Salute Sam Scarfo. A lot of these projects will get caught up, and it sucks, you know, and the fact that Freeway didn't get his proper second album, you know what I mean? It really hindered the success for all the following albums, which is why I said it seemed to me that he had more independent albums than commercial albums, all because of that second album, man. And that would have went through the roof. But I wanted to come on here and cover this today because it caught me off guard. Like I said, I know about Oschino and Beans going back and forth about the money issues over the tours. But I really wanted to come on here and cover the issues that Oschino obviously has with Freeway, and just Freeway being looked at as somebody who was riding for Beanie Sigel. You know, Freeway's also an artist, like I said, that has a multiple platinum record, and that can't be taken away from him. But I want everybody to drop your comments, hit the like button, man. I want to come on here and talk about that today. I'm out, though. Stay tuned for the next one. And like I said, if I get a response, I'm probably going to go back in on this.